Figure skater Kim Yun-ah held an ice show at the Olympic Gymnastics Arena from May 4th to the 6th. She is known as the Queen of Figure Skating and said her final goodbye to her fans at the event. She set aside her disappointment over the Sochi Winter Olympics and gave her final official performance. Our reporter Song Ji-sun was there to capture the moment. An extravagant festival on the ice to the soundtrack of the animated film Frozen started the show, and the 10,000 people in attendance went crazy over her gestures as the Ice Princess. For the finale, Kim took to the ice and danced gracefully to music from the opera Turandot. Kim Yun-ah has competed on the ice for 17 years but is walking away from the sport. We saw her final moments as the figure skating queen through this report.
Just before dawn,
a civilian diver in his 50s lost consciousness during a search operation for victims of the Sewol-ho ferry disaster. He was transported to the hospital, but died soon after arriving. Reporter Connie Lee covered the tragic story for us. The diver was trying to install new guidelines to the 5th floor of the ship when he fell ill. Sources talked about the accident, and we learned more about the tragic turn of events. The nation is grieving over another loss. Through reporter Connie Lee's story, we can only hope that another fatality does not occur during the rescue operation. This week, South Korean Foreign Minister Yun Byung-se gave a keynote speech at the Int'l Peace Institute in New York City. Reporter Yoo Li-an brought us the story. Minister Yoon said that the most pressing issue is stopping North Korea from conducting additional nuclear tests and blocking the enhancement of nuclear weapons and their transport. We got a clear look at the current situation through Minister Yoon's speech in the United States. May 6th, the final day of a long holiday weekend, was Buddha's birthday. And to celebrate this day, reporter Connie Kim visited Jogyesa Temple. All the temples throughout the nation held celebrations for the birth of Buddha. They condoled over the many lives lost in the devastating sinking of the Sewol-ho passenger ferry, and all the day's events were held in a subdued manner.
근데 이거 누가 대독한다는데? 대통령이 오는 게 아니고?
모르겠어요. 청와대 폴단이 왔대요.
그래요? 대독한다고 들었는데 나는? 만약에 오면 그것도 두 개 다 하는 걸로. 앞에 있던데? 저 여쭤볼 게 있는데요. 봉축사는 그럼 이거 그대로 하시는 거예요?
거의 그대로 하실 거예요. 네.
그러니까 이게 뭐 대본 같은 거냐 그러니까?
네, 이거 그냥 요거 그대로 나가는 걸로 알고 있어요.
네, 알겠습니다. 감사합니다.
네.
On this day, some 10,000 people gathered at Jogyesa Temple. Among the crowds, Connie had to talk to the camera director via cell phone.
네, 전데요. 그 왼쪽으로 보면은 무슨 세월호 침몰 사고 희생자 이렇게 위에 해가지고 여기 밴드 같은 거 있는 거 있잖아요. 그거 나중에 하면은 그거 같이 스케치 좀 부탁드린다고 좀 전해주세요, 명사분한테. 네. Well, the whole nation is in grief right now with the Sewol-ho ferry accident striking the whole nation. And I saw many events getting canceled because of the accident. And I was wondering what kind of message Buddhism was going to give out to its people. So when I actually went there at the site, it was very calm, somewhat mourning. A lot of people were dressed in black. And I saw white lanterns hanging, which is to show regret for the deceased on board the Sewol-ho ferry. And for the first time ever, President Park Geun-hye was there expressing her condolences to the lost ones.
Soon, the celebration began. There were so many people that it was standing room only.
아, 대통령 오셨네요.
오신 날 복요식을 봉행하겠습니다.
President Park Geun-hye was also at the temple. The Buddhist ceremony isn't very familiar to Connie. She hears Buddhist terminology for the first time and tries to get used to the way the Buddhist sutra is read.
이웃의 아픔은 곧 내 아픔이고 내가 평화롭기 위해서는 이웃을 평화롭게 해야 함을 깨달았습니다. 지금 대한민국은 깊은 슬픔과 고통에 빠져 있습니다. 세월호 사고는 아이들을 지키지 못한 우리 어른들의 책임이며 이런 일이 재발되지 않도록 뼈아픈 통찰과 참회가 있어야 합니다.
Next, President Park Geun-hye delivered an address.
세월호 사고로 고귀한 생명을 잃으신 희생자분들의 명복을 빌며 사랑하는 가족을 잃은 슬픔으로 고통받고 계신 유가족들께 부처님의 자비로운 보살핌이 함께 하기를 간절히 기원합니다. 국민의 생명을 지켜야 할 대통령으로서 어린 학생들과 가족을 갑자기 잃은 유가족들께 무엇이라 위로를 드려야 할지 죄송스럽고
세월호 희생자를 위하여 왕생극락을 우리 다 같이 합창 기도 올립시다.
Everyone remains quiet and solemn.
It was my first time being at a temple, so I didn't know anything about Buddhist terms. So I did a little research, and I found out that Jogyesa Temple was actually part of the Jogye order of Korean Buddhism, which is actually the largest sect in Korea. So getting to know the whole words and understand and having a comprehensible view actually helped me soak up the atmosphere and tell my viewers about the whole Buddhist culture in Korea.
The ceremony lasted an hour, and towards the end of it, floral tributes were made. Connie starts to feel flustered and looks for the camera crew.
우리 스탠드업 어디서 찍어야 돼요? 빨리 찍어야 되지 않아요?
Connie wants to capture the lively atmosphere of Jogyesa Temple. She feels nervous as there are many who are watching her, but she decides to do the stand-up in front of a huge crowd. The camera staff starts to feel anxious as well.
The most venerable Chasing's message this year focused on condoling those affected by the sunken Seodo ferry and urging people to cooperate and act with wisdom to create a safer society.
Connie carefully monitors herself.
So when I'm at the site, I constantly think about the most interesting aspect in my story because that's what usually goes into my stand-up line. But at that event, I think it was very important to think fast and accurately because the ceremony only lasted about an hour. And I noticed that people were moving out quickly from the temple as soon as the ceremony ended.
Now Connie wants to interview the people who attended the ceremony.
안녕하세요. 저희 아리랑 TV에서 나왔는데요. 오늘 아리랑 TV에서 나왔는데요. 저희 오늘 이 봉축식 관련해가지고 짧게 시민 인터뷰 하나 하고 있는데 잠깐 간단하게 해주실 수 있으세요? 오늘 뭐 어떻게 오셨고 뭐 세월호 관련해서 뭐 오늘 이번에는 좀 특별했는데 어떻게 보셨는지 그거 짧게 한 10초 정도 나가거든요. 하나 부탁드릴게요, 아버님. 짧게. 안 하세요? 네.
She's a little disappointed by the cold reactions from everyone.
어머니 안녕하세요. 저희 아리랑 TV 김지연 기자라고 하는데요. 저희 오늘 그 봉축식 관련해서 짧게 그 시민 인터뷰 하고 있는데 하나만 짧게 해주실 수 있으세요? 정말요? 저희 한 30초면 되는데. 따님분 하기 싫으세요? 네? 아니야, 오늘 여기 어떻게 나오시게 됐고, 뭐 오늘 그 뭐 봉축식 어떻게 보셨는지 짧게.
잘 못 봤는데.
야, 여기서 보신 거 아니에요?
네, 못 봤어요. 다른 어른들 하는 게 낫지 않을까? 늦게 와가지고 못 봤어요.
네네, 알겠습니다.
She fails once again.
You're not Korean?
Not Korean.
Oh, it's okay. It's even better. I'm a reporter from Arirang TV.
It's okay, it's okay.
I was wondering if we can get a short interview about, why you came here today at the ceremony. 민망해. 진짜 민망하다.
She decides to change locations.
한 10초. 아니 뭐 오늘 여기 왜 오시게 되셨고, 올해는 뭐 세월호 참사 관련해서 조금 더 특별한 의미가 있었을 텐데 어떻게 생각하셨는지 그거 짧게 하나만 부탁드릴게요. 감사합니다.
At long last, Connie finds someone who's willing to do an interview.
네, 서울 시민이신 거죠? 네.
She quickly prepares in case the interviewee changes her mind. Connie must have something she wants to hear from ordinary citizens.
저 보시고 말씀해 주시면 돼요. 네, 그럼 오늘 이제 조계사 찾게 되신 이유랑 뭐 올해는 세월호 참사 관련해서 조금 더 특별한 의미가 있으셨을 텐데 그 관련해서 어떻게 생각하시는지 말씀 부탁드릴게요.
오늘 부처님 오신 날을 맞이해서 부처님도 한번 뵙고 저희 가족의 건강을 위해서도 한번 인사드리고 싶어서 나왔고요. 세월호 참사 관련해서는 저도 중학교 아이와 초등학교 아이를 기르고 있는 한 학부모로서 너무 마음이 아프고 남의 일 같지가 않아서 다시는 이런 일이 발생하지 않았으면 하는 마음에 기도드리러 나왔습니다.
네, 감사합니다.
고맙습니다.
The interview with a regular citizen was a success.
So at the ceremony, I heard many messages of how such a tragic accident should never happen again, expressing regret to the deceased by the high-profile people. So I wanted to add more color to what the visitors actually thought about Buddha's birthday this year and what kind of meaning it had for them, especially with the sunken ferry costing so many lives.
Connie returns to the office. The office is pretty empty as it's a holiday. She begins writing her article about the events at Jogyesa Temple.
I fixed it, Scott. And I also have a question. I want to use her soundbite, but then she talks for like 36 seconds. So I don't know if I should shorten it.
Probably, yeah.
No. Following the teachings of Buddha.
Oh. I think it's okay.
No, so she was like the first ever president to make a speech at the Jogyesa Temple.
Oh, I see. That's why it's confusing. Okay, so gave a speech at the temple Tuesday.
The first president.
Sitting Korean president to ever do so. Yeah, that's
okay.
good.
Thank you.
Cool, thanks.
Connie double-checks with the editor and goes in to dub her article.
The colorful lanterns adorning Jogyesa Temple welcomed thousands of people, including lawmakers. Venerable Chasing, the head of the Choge Order of Korean Buddhism, the largest Buddhist sect in the nation, called on everyone in attendance to spur change. Reflecting on how
She calmly reads the article she wrote.
Connie Kim, Arirang News.
And it's a must that she checks to make sure her story is recorded well.
Throughout South Korea conveyed similar messages on Buddha's birthday. 저 CG 하나 의뢰했는데요. 박근혜 대통령 말자막이거든요. 아, 네네. 에디팅 다 된 거죠, 이거?
네. 확인 좀
네.
해주세요. 네, 2장이에요.
네, 감사합니다. 여기 뒤에 따옴표 필요 없어요?
따옴표? 네, 이건 안 들어가요.
안 들어가도 돼요? 네, 감사합니다.
Now she needs to edit the video that goes out during the newscast.
제일 첫 번째 뭐로 들어갈까요?
처음에 그 위에 이렇게 연등 있는 거 있잖아요.
그리고 박근혜?
네. 그다음에 사람들이 부다에 무슨 2558번째 생일을 축하하러 왔다. 그 내용이거든, 첫 번째 문장이. 그 다음이 무슨 뭐 정치인들, 뭐 부디스트 리더들이 와서 뭐 세월호 참사의 그런 뜻을 전했다. 그런.
As it's a holiday and there are fewer newscasts, Connie has some extra time to prepare her story.
이어지긴 해? 맞춰서?
So she pays closer attention to editing the video clips.
이걸로 가도 되잖아.
네.
Holidays are not automatic days off for reporters, but Connie enjoys what she's doing as she gets to go to interesting and exciting places.
Our Connie Kim reports.
The colorful lanterns adorning Jogyesa Temple welcomed thousands of people, including lawmakers, celebrities, and Buddhist leaders Tuesday who came to celebrate Buddha's 2,558th birthday. But the mood was subdued as the hour-long ceremony was dedicated to the victims of the Seoul ferry tragedy. The most venerable Chaseng's message this year focused on condoling those affected by the sunken Seoul ferry and urging people to cooperate and act with wisdom to create a safer society. So working on a holiday is definitely not an ordinary thing for other people, but I think personally it was a new experience for me because a lot of people were gathered there, making the atmosphere very lively. It actually motivated me eventually to work even harder. And one more thing, working on a holiday, the deadline isn't until late in the afternoon, so I had more time in my hand to think about the structure of my article and the footages as well.
Well, I was invited to speak briefly about Buddha's birthday, so that's why I came here today. But it's always nice to stop in and see what's happening here.
Goes against every subject.
Good morning, you're watching Korea Today. On a Tuesday morning, I'm Oh Jin-ju alongside Kim Jin-dong and Kim Yo. 2,558th birthday was held in a solemn mood this year, with many praying that the agony be shared and eased through the bright lantern lights, and for Buddha to have mercy on this world.
Thank you, Sung-hyun, for this story.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And as we just saw with the report with Kim Sung-hyun, Buddha's birthday is one of, if not the biggest Buddhist holiday in Korea. Joining us in the studio is the Venerable Daebong, resident Zen master of Musangsa International Temple. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Light represents the Buddha's mind and Buddha's teaching, and the lotus represents Buddhism.
Unique characteristics are there about Korean Buddhism?
I think one of the core aspects of Korean culture is injunk.
Each other, issues like education, violence against women and children.
In some other countries in Northeast Asia, the temples are more museums or tourist spots, but here they're actually a living part of daily life for many people.
Yeah,
it's nice to see you.
This stuff. Let me get my bag out of the way too. So I have a few questions for you, and
sure.
It's gonna revolve around what Buddha's birthday is to the Korean Buddhism community. The Catholic community has always had sort of a, because I'm Catholic, I come from a Catholic family background, it always seems like the Catholic community has close ties and has always maintained close ties with the Buddhism.
Yeah. It's very comfortable in a way because Catholic also has priests and nuns. So even in Korea, when we pass one another, we kind of nod like, I know what you're doing, and I know what you're doing, I know what your life is like. So I think there's a commonality there because of having a common tradition that way. And also the Catholic Church is quite open-minded and wide these days and happy to do things with others.
So how did you become Buddhist?
I got interested in Buddhism when I was 11.
11?
Yeah, I would spend a summer in Japan at an international camp, and I was thinking a lot at that time about suffering, why people suffer, and why we make suffering for each other. And for me, I was growing up in the United States in the 50s and 60s, and one of the main things going on was the civil rights movement. So I had big questions about why blacks and whites, treat each other badly. And during this trip, we visited Kamakura, and there's a big outdoor Buddha, about 20 or 30 meters high. And as soon as I saw that, I just got this feeling he understands why they're suffering and how to get out of it. I had never seen a Buddha or knew about it before, so you could say that's some kind of inyan. 15 years later, I met Sungsan Sanim, and the first night I met him, he's a Korean monk, I just felt like this is the person I'm looking for. This is the teacher. I thought, this is my teacher.
So at the age of 11, you figured out pretty much everything that we're all starting to figure out right now.
Well, I wouldn't say I figured it out, but I certainly wanted to take the step to find out why are we suffering, how to get out of suffering. I'd say even when I was a kid, that was the most important thing to me. Maybe that's why I ended up a monk.
I think this interview is we're gonna have to save this one for another interview sometime soon.
Sure, I understand.
For an exclusive for a story there. But anyhow, thank you for joining us today.
Sure. Buddha knew why he was born. He found out why he was born, and then he did his job very well. So, why were you born? It's a very important point. If we find out why we're born, why am I alive? Why did I come to this place? Then we can find the true meaning of human life. We say the true meaning of life is to find your true nature and help others. We call that human being's original job. So if you find human being's original job, any kind of body job's okay. But if you cannot find that, then you're always discriminating between body jobs and always going to be happy and sad and experience lots of suffering. So find out why you were born, okay?